Hey everybody, this is Carl back again for another TV show spoiler review. It's not in the theme of Halloween, but we just wrapped up Ahsoka season 1, and I want to quickly go over my overall thoughts on the season. And in a relatively short video, I'm going to go back to my YouTube tier list, a Star Wars tier list thing, and I'm gonna make a few adjustments, given the fact that I wanted to wait, because after Andor, Kenobi, and Ahsoka, and Mandalorian season 3, it's like, okay, I want to wait till Ahsoka was done before I go back, because there's some alterations I definitely need to do. But yeah, the most hyped Star Wars project that we was really looking forward to for a good year and a half now. Probably ever since, the fan requested casting of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. Great choice, by the way. I always love Rosario Dawson. She's amazing in everything. And she does top-notch work as Ahsoka. So basically, the whole story goes, Ahsoka. Oh well, this night sister, who doesn't look like a freaking night sister, look like just some old lady, and who's tangentially, related to the night sisters of Star Wars, probably the second cousin removed type of stuff. That kind of took me out. You call yourself a night sister, but you look like just any old lady. Not old shaming or anything like that, but it's just like you're just an elderly woman. And it's like, it wasn't until like the very tail end when you get these powers bestowed by actual night sisters, we actually start to look like one. And it's like, so like you only get to look like a night sister when you're bequeathed this, witch power. And it's like, no, from my recollection, more of the Star Wars that like content that I consumed, night sisters are born looking the way we see night sisters to look like. Because the lady from Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order that Cal Kestis hooked up with, she is obviously, it seems like she was always been like that. And of course, she always had her power, but it's like, I don't know. There was Ventress. She always looked like that, and of course you got all the Darth Maul and Savage type of guys. They always look like that. They don't just turn into that because they acquire certain gifts or whatever. It's just kind of weird. But she breaks out of a rebel prison cell after Ahsoka was one responsible of locking her up. Two Jedi break her out, played by the late Ray Stevenson, Baron Skull, which he done a phenomenal job. And it's a shame, like he died shortly before this, shortly before the pilot aired officially, which is a shame. But he was amazing, and technically he was a Sith, along with his apprentice I forgot her doggone name. People like to call her like something baddie. It's like a play on her name. Okay, just to go over to get through the casting. Rosario Dawson, Ahsoka. Oh, and we got like Arena Greenblatt you know her as like little Gamora, and apparently she was in that Barbie movie, playing as young Ahsoka. She's having a great, career going on. We got Natasha Liu Bordizzo as Sabine Wren. There's a lot of these actors reprising their roles because they primarily voiced these actors from Rebels. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is married to Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan himself. She plays Hera Syndulla. Ray Stevenson is Balin Skull. Ivana Shakno as Shin Hati. That's her name, Shin Hati. And people call her Sin Batty as like a play on her name. And she is hot. So is Sabine. But Diana Lee Ino Santo as Morgan Elsbeth. Mon Esfandi as Ezra Bridger. Evan Witten as Jason Sadula, the son of Hera and Kanan Jarrus. Genevieve O'Reilly as Mothma. Lars Mikkelsen as Admiral Thrawn. Anyway, so these Jedi break her out because they're working with her. Skull has his own, goals in play that he helps service this Night Sisters, machinations, because she wants to find Grand Admiral Thrawn after because this is like set, sometime after the events of, well, not too long of a time after Return to Jedi, but it's just a little bit of time after the success of blowing up the Death Star and destroying Palpatine. But then once we see like Ahsoka going through this temple, very Jedi Fallen Order type of puzzle quest thing, getting this map, which happens to be on a planet that used to belong to the Night Sisters, at least is tied to the Night Sisters heritage, as turns out to be like a map to this other galaxy altogether that haven't been mapped out yet, that would hopefully lead to Grand Admiral Thrawn, which we learn later that's what it is. So once Hera notifies Ahsoka about the prison break, she realized, okay, we need to well, thanks to some encouraging from Hera, Ahsoka goes back to the planet where we left off in the final episode of Rebels. Go find Sabine Wren so that way they could stop their plans on finding Thrawn, given the fact that Thrawn was a major player in the Imperial order. They can't have that. We can't have, because Thrawn is the one person that they know can easily fill in the vacuum left by Sidious. So they gotta try to find this Night Sister and bring her to justice, and find these rogue Jedi. And of course, it turns out that because we know from Rebels, Sabine is, I I wouldn't say slightly force sensitive. She's force sensitive, but given the fact that her Mandalorian heritage kind of put her at odds with the Jedi side of her, because from records, there's only been one Mandalorian Jedi that was the first wielder of the dark saber that we see Mando use most of the time in the Mandalorian series. And of course, we got technically Grogu because he's already force sensitive, but given the fact that he's been hanging out with Mando and the other Mandalorians, he will probably grow up with two knowledges of rival clans, because Mandalorians are the only other race of people that actually is trained to actually put up an actual fight outside of other Jedi can actually put up a decent fight against a Jedi. So they after they go find like Sabine Wren, because given how the design is on this little sphere trinket, it's like, oh well, the artistry on it, what artists do, the artistry on it is so unique. We need somebody who's like expert in art to give us some insight on this. So that's when to go to Sabine Wren, and it's, I want to say, clunky way of trying to shoehorn her into the plot. But it's like, honestly, it's like this is like a large galaxy. I'm pretty sure this is like a plain enough historians or even art historians that can probably help along with figuring this out. But whatever. But I want to take the moment now to bring up here, and this is an issue I have with a lot of the Star Wars shows, and this is probably the one complaint I have with Dave Filoni, if I have any at all, is just that when you're making a Star Wars show that's supposed to be particular about a central like maybe at least one central character or maybe a couple, that's the only one we should be focused on. But you keep shoehorning in other Star Wars characters to hijack another show and take out the bulk of the show. It's not. It started with Boba Fett. I can't count Luke Skywalker in Mando season 2 because that was a legit cameo. He only showed up at the tail end, and that was it. But it started with Boba Fett, where not only Mando took, had his own little episode halfway through Boba Fett show, which once again, I think everybody agree, but I've been saying it from the jump. I don't think Boba Fett needs his own show. No matter how popular a character is, they try to give that Gina Carano or Garano, whatever, from season 1 of Mandalorian, her own show because everybody loved that character so much. But after the whole tweet that she put out about like the trans community, that was not very nice. She was booted off the show completely, and that whole show got axed. But it's just not besides all that, not every character needs their own show. You trying to cram so much content for the Disney Plus app, you gotta dial it back. Not everything we don't need like a show about that one funny bartender that Luke bumped into on that one random planet. Okay, like I don't care if it stars Jeff Goldblum or whatever like that. I don't want a show about it because it's just supposed to be a one-off funny character that we enjoy for a few minutes in every other episode. But and then what was another one? oh yeah, in Mandalorian season 3, you got oh crap, the other Mandalorian woman, I forgot her name, but she was a de facto leader of of her people. But it's just like, man, you just did not know what to do with Din Djarin after a certain point, and you just get this other character, and it's all of a sudden her show now, and her figuring out her way into loving, being like a Mandalorian and working as a team again, all this other stuff. And now you get this show where it's like, this is just Rebels 2.0. And it's like a king for Ahsoka. And it's not like these guys can't show up for a short period to back her up in like a dogfight or something. But it's if you go, is the same problem I had with Kenobi. It's like, I love little Princess Leia, but she took up so much of the time. She probably should have been worth one episode or episode and a half. Kenobi finding her, bringing her back, she's using her force skills to like give him a bit of clarity for him to like do some soul searching or whatever. And it's like, it's just her trying to get her back to her parents. I'm like, oh my god. It's like it's like you sold the show on Kenobi and Vader rematch of the century, coming to some kind of level of conclusions, and Kenobi probably going through some PTSD given the events that transpired after Order 66. That's what he pretty much sold us on. And you threw in this little Princess Leia kid show, and it's like, oh my god. And now with this, is just like, you sold this show on Ahsoka. Let it be about Ahsoka and this robot that voiced by one of the Doctor Who's, forgot his name, Purple Man from Jessica Jones. And it's like, she could be talking to him most of the time, because yeah, part of the show is her getting through her own issues after Order 66 and what happened to Anakin Skywalker. And man, that's because it was episode 5, my favorite episode, I think everybody's favorite episode, where Hayden Christensen's Force Ghost showed up and pretty much helping her get through her mental trauma. And I love this whole, because that's where you see like her going back in time through moments of Clone Wars, and you see little Ahsoka there. And I love this line of dialogue with Ahsoka pointing out what Anakin will become, and why she has issues. And like this, the way Hayden Christensen's performance is cracked me up. It was the best line in my opinion of the whole entire show. And he just turns to her with his arms crossed, like, is that what this is about? And I was like, no, it's not what it's about. The fact that you murdered a bunch of people, including a bunch of kids, is not something that somebody can just easily get over with, man. But it was just so hilarious. But I love the look. It's just straight up like ripped off the cartoon, straight up live action Clone Wars for just a brief snippet, and it's so good. And flashing of the lights that goes in and out between him and his Darth Vader persona, and him just giving her final lesson that he never got the chance to do. And it's her because after she had like a fight with Baron Skull, she technically lost, so now she's in this kind of limbo of world between worlds, and she's trying to figure out she's not admitting to herself, but it's Anakin helping her again through her mental trauma. It's like, okay, this is your final test, live or die. And it's pretty much like, you can read that metaphorically, And some people question whether or not that was like a mental projection from Ahsoka, or is it a Force ghost? I assumed it was a Force ghost. There's no reason why that shouldn't be. But I really love that episode. It's so much, and like the only problem I had with the episode is they keep flip flopping to characters I don't give a crap about. They even really need to be here altogether. But it's Hera and his little son, her son. You know, he's Force sensitive. Don't you hear it, Mom? The lightsabers. Why would she hear it? She doesn't have Force. It's not sure. The Force flows through everybody, but it's like a key component. The fact that you have to be like naturally attuned to it in order to build off of that to be able to be a functioning Jedi. And it's like, it's like everybody can throw a punch, but only specific people can be, well, that's not everybody can. Well, I want to say, I'm about to use an analogy about like anybody can throw a punch, but there's only a few people can actually is naturally gifted into actually learning some actual martial arts. But you catch my drift. Where it's like, there's everybody can do, everybody got a butthole, but it's like you know what I mean. It's just like there's some bit of talent that has to be used and patience. And apparently there's a bit of static with Sabine and Ahsoka, because just like with Grogu, Ahsoka is hesitant on, she's not giving her all in the training. It seems like it, but she's not, because the first half of this series is like Ahsoka just giving these disapproving, smoldering stares, and her arms is crossed like almost all the time. And it wasn't until after she had her moment with Anakin where she got everybody, even Dave Filoni was conscientious of this, but she has these white garments and now she's Ahsoka the White, but Gandalf reference. But like I only seen Lord of the Rings films, the original trilogy, once each, but I do recall that Gandalf the White gets a little bit more powerful than Gandalf the Gray, but Ahsoka isn't more powerful after her little lesson with Anakin and overcoming her mental trauma, or getting, at least trying to get past that. She didn't increase in Jedi power. She just, her mind is more clear, I guess, and she's actually smiling a little bit more. Oh, I want to make a point about something with Hera, where I get it, they're rebels, they rebel, but now that for now the order is done and the Rebels Alliance is putting up some structures, so they still have like a hierarchy of command, and it is one, I think is he played a little bit too cartoonishly of an asshole that doesn't really need to go that far with it, but just trying to prove he's like an asshole. But just this guy on the council next to Mothma, this Asian guy that's like questioning Hera and the choices she's making, because she's going behind the back just to do whatever, even though that she's not officially authorized to do whatever, for the sake of a possibility of Thrawn coming back, even though it is correct. But personally, it feels like you're trying to give like a Hera a girl power moment or something like that, because this dude, you can make this guy not trust her and be rigid in that without making him seem so smarmy and like an asshole. I've seen plenty of movies and TV shows where a character like that is played like that, but it is overplaying your hand just to, you gotta hate this guy. And it's like, we can read that just through the performance and stuff. It's play a little more subtle with it, whereas like, oh sure, like I understand, like something like I understand you're saying like, Thrawn is a possibility of him coming back, but that's the thing. It's a possibility. You have no concrete proof, and we cannot authorize that. And just be stilted in that opinion without coming across like, putting her down or anything like that, just for Hera to completely, like I said, it's a hierarchy. If you look at it in terms of military, it's a hierarchy. It's not that Hera wouldn't be allowed to quite question her superior, but it's just like the added disrespect. And I get it, he was disrespectful too, but it's just like they was overdoing it in the writing just to make us to say like, yeah, we don't like this guy, right? And it's like the way he's talking to her. It's like, yeah, like I said, there's a way you can do it right where it doesn't come across like you just forcing, you overdoing it. But then Hera just completely like, he is your superior. He's a council member. Technically, well, let's say you ask to direct to him, but it's like, it's somebody of a higher authority to you that commands a part of the military that you work under. It's like, having like several generals. Just because you didn't work under one of the generals doesn't mean that that general doesn't earn your respect, and you should talk to said person with that respect. But it's just like, like maybe you do this. It's like the attitude, and it's like that just takes me, I won't say takes me out of it, but it's just like it seems like they're forcing it just to make us hate this guy more than we got it. Like he's kind of an ass, but then it's just kind of making her give Hera some kind of girl power moment. I don't know. That's just how I think. You might have a difference of opinion. That's fine, but it just read that. That's how I read that. It's fun to see Chopper. It's pretty cool. He's no R2D2, but he's cool. And then it's like, because the freaking internet want to blow, like, oh, these crazy characters that show up. It's just C-3PO giving a message from Princess Leia sanctioning Hera's little escapades, which is everybody knows is gonna be cap. Given the fact that she happened to had Hera meet Hera's acquaintances a couple of times during the fight with the Empire. So it's kind of like, people should have called out like, oh, you play in favoritism kind of situation. But that part can easily gloss over. But yeah. And then of course, Sabine having a tough time connecting to herself to the Force because she's too focused on trying to find Ezra. And it's like, oh my god. And made a stupid move. Like, oh my god, how dumb can you be? Selfish on top of that. As you saw the last episode of Rebels, Ezra using those space whales that can naturally go through hyperspace, use a tactical move in order to capture Thrawn and send themselves flying, in the, into a different galaxy altogether, and just to make sure we get rid of Thrawn for good. And she want to undo all that by find a way to use the map to locate Ezra. But as many people pointed out, you will possibly, but you also could potentially give Thrawn an access to get back to our galaxy and jumpstart another war. And you'll pretty much undo the sacrifice Ezra made in order to prevent that. All because, I don't know, because you just saying like, oh, he's like family. No, you probably like this guy, and it's like you pretty much hung up on him. And it's like, God, it just feels so dumb. And it's like this lady, I don't know what was the decision behind that. I think everybody's in agreement. It was so stupid. And of course, I want to say they completely let her off the hook. But Ahsoka, as soon as she found Sabine again, it's like, I want to say she needed to be chastised, but pointing out the fact like, yeah, like I know you're sorry, but I want to need you to, just do better. You got lucky, you gambled and you won, but that was a stupid ass move. And because we found Ezra, and we can bring him home, we can get past this. But it's just like, as your Jedi Master, you don't have to just do what the heck I say. And of course, these are rebels. They rebel anything. It's like, I don't know. It is, and like I said, I don't think these rebel people, they probably just deserve their own live action show. But it just don't. If you're making a Star Wars show about, I don't know, Luke Skywalker, I don't want to see Ezra Bridger in it. I don't want to see Boba Fett show up. It's like, I just want to see the character, about him or whoever, and interacting with characters we haven't seen before, and not throwing in Han Solo or Din Djarin or whatever. It's like, I don't want to see them. They should not be popping up in somebody else's thing, unless it's bare minimum a cameo, which should last about the same length of time as Luke Skywalker showed up in season 2 of Mandalorian, and that is it. And as in case of dire situations on top of that. What else? So they end up getting into a space dogfight, and also don't get me started with like a spacesuit that somehow is like stitched together in a way that fits around Ahsoka's, not just her body, but like her head tentacle things. And it's like, and that is just like so convenient. You have like a spacesuit that's perfectly made, but it's gotta be probably specifically made for her. But it's just like, I don't know, at first glance, until I actually thought about it, it's like, man, it's super convenient. You have a spacesuit specifically tailored for you. But then it's like, yeah, tailored. You probably had to have it tailored for your to get around your head. But then having some using I think it's still kind of cool, where like all these TIE fighters are surrounding her Razor Crest. But then, is it Razor Crest? I think that's Hera's ship, but Ahsoka's ship, and then uses sabers to cut one. That was pretty cool. But they ended up on this planet, and there was this mysterious, Sith character that pops up with Shin Hati, and everybody was speculating, oh, is that Ezra, and somehow he's manipulating to turn into the dark side, or is it Star Killer? But it turns out to be nobody. He's just like a suit full of gas or something, I don't know. And it's like, God, that was so freaking of a letdown. Who was this guy? You set him up to be like such a cool character, but it turns out to be nothing. He went out like a punk after a couple of episodes. I was like, God, that is lame. Like what was the thought process behind all that? And don't get me started, because I've been talking about with many people, man, I want to see Star Killer in live action. I want to see him go up against Ahsoka. Two princesses of Anakin Skywalker, one from Anakin's light side and one from the dark side of Darth Vader, both trained by technically the same person, and see these two go at it. That would be so cool. So cool. I want to see that. That is amazing. These two are the most powerful Jedi, trained by the most powerful Jedi, the chosen one himself. So these two should be like, because Ahsoka and Starkiller, aside from Luke Skywalker himself, should be like a lethal threat of Jedis. I really want that so bad. Um, so uh, Ahsoka tried to stop Balin. He gets the upper hand. She goes into this water, which gives her a little therapeutic session with Anakin Skywalker. But then, as instructed by Ahsoka, just in case things goes pear-shaped, she's instructed to destroy this thing so they won't have access to find the map route to General Thrawn. Of course, Balin, promised her to find Ezra Bridger for her, and so she's just like, gave up the map, and she's held, I won't say held hostage, but they're prisoner, and they use the space wells to navigate the spaceways in order to get to the Pacific Galaxy. And it's so dumb. This girl is so idiotic. What else? So when we get there, they meet up with Thrawn, and I thought I'll have a change of heart once I saw the show. Saw this live action interpretation, and I still don't feel nothing. People like, going goo gaga over Thrawn, and like the way he talks, so poignant and subtle, with no emotion, and just stares, barely blinking. And it's like, sure, guy's a tactical genius. So I've seen him play some mental chess amongst many characters in Rebels, but he shouldn't be not all that different from most other Imperial officers who have some level of tactical geniuses. It's like, only thing that makes him special is the fact that he's blue, in my opinion. And sure, I know there's supposed to be some kind of books about this guy that show off how threatening he is, but I was more threatened by Gideon in The Mandalorian than I was about this guy. And Gideon is a relatively new character, so it's like, yeah, sure. Oh, he's like the Moriarty of Star Wars. It's like he learns about your history and use it to manipulate you. Any character can honestly do that. To be fair, all they gotta do is pick up a freaking book about a particular race, and boom, you can manipulate somebody. And it's not that special. I expected him to do something like what Darth Vader did in Kenobi, where he's just pulling people out of the out on the street and just randomly choking fools, or doing something like on Rogue One, where you just like a horror slasher movie monster or something like that, and just wreck shop. I am not like, maybe it's just me. People obviously have like a difference of opinion. They're like loving Thrawn and his villainy. I'm not feeling nothing. I'm not intimidated by this guy. Okay, I'm sorry. There's nothing scary about this guy. I was hoping the show would change my mind. It hasn't. He's not much. I don't want to say he's nothing, but I'm saying like he's just a slightly better than any other Imperial officer, or just he's just more competent. That's the thing. He's more competent, but that's not let's not go goo goo gaga over that fact. Sorry. So he ends up like, manipulating. I won't say manipulating, but he's telling he was told like, oh, like Balin made a deal with her, like, give her the map and lead us here, we'll let her find Ezra Bridger. And it's like, oh well, we will honor that then. We'll give you animal to ride on and canteen and your weapons, and you'll be off. But just so you know, then once we take off, we will leave you here. But obviously using her to track down Ezra because he wants to get his revenge from what Ezra did in stranding him here in this desolate uh, planet. And of course, Sabine, finally, thanks to uh, these crab-like aliens, it kind of reminds me of that Pokemon, crab Pokemon. Um, Dweeble. Yeah, it reminds me of Dweeble. If you look up Pokemon Dweeble, that's what uh those crab looking things in Ahsoka look like, that Ezra befriended. And you see, finally meet up with Ezra. And I like the guy playing this live action version of him. Like, he went from Aladdin to Jesus very, through, a couple of years. And he kind of like avoided taking back his lightsaber that he gave to Sabine, and just primarily uses force powers to fight back. Obviously, maintaining his training, and he's, gotten better. But once everybody comes together, there's a brief skirmish between Ahsoka and Baylan again, but she runs off to go help her friends. And Baylan, instructed his Padawans, like, my destiny lies elsewhere, yours is here, because he has a particular goal. It's like he mentions to his apprentice, let these people do, because I've been around long enough since the Order 66. He was an interesting character, and too bad, like, Ray Stevenson passed, because he did a great job with his character. So obviously, when there's season 2 comes up, somebody got to reprise his role. And because he lost his faith in the Order altogether, and it's like, there's no difference between, like, the rebellion and the Imperials, but he's after what he calls true power. And after Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine go back to the tower to try to stop Thrawn from escaping, Ahsoka had like a final fight with that Night Sister she arrested and killed her, and Sabine helped Ezra get on board the ship before it blasts off back to the previous galaxy. We didn't get to see it, but it happened off screen where Ezra takes a stormtrooper suit, use one of those ships to the smaller ships to fly off and track down Hera. And it's like, how come nobody's sensors went off when one of their ships just flew out of the hangar? That part was very weird. But he ends up meeting up with Hera. Nice little moment. But then because Sabine and Ahsoka is still back on that planet where they with the crab people, and then they sense something, but they dismiss it, and it turns out to be Anakin's Force Ghost watching over them. But the more interesting part is with Balin's apprentices, go back with like those nomadic you know uh uh villagers or whatever. But Balin follows this trail to this temple that's connected to, if you've seen Clone Wars, these those force, very high functioning force sensitive celestials, whatever you want to call them. Is the father, the daughter, and the son, where the father has perfect balance between you would call him a great Jedi in my opinion, a perfect harmony between light and the dark, while the son represents the dark side of the force, the daughter represents the light, both on at their biggest extremes. And one can't go on without the other because they'll be in balance, whether it's the light side or dark side. And Anakin's supposed to be like the replacement of the father, and you look at somebody like Ahsoka, which would obviously, she technically died once in Clone Wars, but the daughter gave up her essence to revive her, so now she probably had like the new mantle of the daughter. And maybe Balin is trying to seek after the power from the son. So that is actually a very interesting thing. It took me a while to understand, like, okay, this is where it, because it feels like it was ending on kind of an incomplete note. It doesn't feel like a satisfying ending to this particular season, because I don't know, it's like looking for like the Mandalorian's season 2 perspective. It feels like there's a particular goal, finding Grogu's people and defeating defeating Gideon. Technically, like he did defeat Gideon, and he made sure he got arrested in the end of all of it. But he got these dark troopers that he's trying to stop. But these things are like Terminators. But in comes Luke Skywalker, save the day, rips open all these things like they're tissue paper, and he's looking after Grogu to teach him how to be a Jedi. And the season ends with what is life going to be like for Mando moving forward. But technically it felt complete. Here it doesn't feel that, I don't get that same essence, where I figure out like, yeah, there should be like a season 2, and clearly there's gonna be, but I still want to feel like this season was complete, and it doesn't feel complete in my pit of my stomach, if you know the feeling that I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, like, aside from it, and the season started very slow, and I think everybody's in agreement on that one. But episode 5 and 6 are like the biggest highlights, and everything else seems meh, in my opinion. Not like it's bad or anything like that, but it's just, like I said, like, well, what's it? I expected it to be like somewhere between meh and excellence. It need to be somewhere in that middle part, but I didn't feel that. And like what I felt in episode 5, I wanted to feel it all the way through. It's definitely not like a good highlight for me, as so far as like, I was looking forward to this show because I love the character of Ahsoka. But I don't know. It probably would help because I'm still kind of hung up on the fact that it's like in the Rebel show, Ahsoka wasn't even there all the time. She popped up probably like a couple of times halfway through the series. I'm not saying a couple of times, but maybe like when things are really, getting, to the nitty gritty when leading up to like that pyramid and her fighting Darth Vader. You know, that season she showed up, you know, a couple of times, and then next time we saw her will be at the last tail end of the final season. So she ain't had all that much interaction with these rebel people, so as far as that we see, to warrant them. Like, it's not like she was part of the crew, and that's why I feel like this is like a just trying to force another, like, oh, remember Rebels? Now we got like Rebels live action. It's like, just make a Rebels live action show then, don't involve Ahsoka. You're using Ahsoka's skin in order to sell a live action show, a version of an animated show that only probably like a select group of people really liked. Because honestly, I did my spoiler review on each season of Rebels, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Links are in the description below. And I made a mention that in the first season, which everybody agrees wasn't a great season, but as things progressed, things got a little bit better here and there. But it's just like, it wasn't Clone Wars, and I don't want to use that as that's not fair, but it's just to make a point that Clone Wars had its definite lows, but its highs are just been, you know, this many, and they're, you know, obviously spectacular. But man, it's just like, I just wanted to be like an Ahsoka centered show with a robot buddy and just dealing with this Night Sister chick. If you want like the Rebels to, you know, deal with Thrawn, just give them their own little show and they can be the focus. That's just my opinion. I don't like the hijacking. It's become repetitive at this point. And you think after the complaints people had about what happened with Mando, I mean Boba Fett, with Mando completely hijacking halfway through his show, that's just like, you would think they want to avoid doing that again. They keep doing it. Probably don't mean to, but it's obviously they're doing it. So when you're making a show about a particular character, or like Kenobi with two characters, those should be the only focus. I don't care about anybody else. They're background filler. Anyway, that is my thoughts on the Ahsoka series. It's good, but it's there's only 2 episodes that actually like blow my mind. It's mostly because you get to see a live action Anakin with a live action Ahsoka, and that was the biggest deal. And it wasn't just, oh, we get to see them good, but no substance to it. There was substance, but after episode 5 and 6, it's just like those 2 highlights. Everything else around it, it's decent. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Far from it, but I don't know. I didn't walk away like, man, I can't, because this what I'm feeling after season 1 of Loki series. I'm so looking forward to season 2, and it's like, yeah, I'm just ready. I want to leave me with a high, you know. But anyway, I will see you guys in a few minutes as I go to my tier list, reckon all the as a matter of fact, no, I better make it a second. I've thought about just putting it right here on this video, but I'll just make it its own separate video altogether. But I will see you guys in a few minutes as I briefly do a rearranging of the Star Wars tier listing of, you know, best to least greatest. So anyway, take care, and I'll see you all soon. Peace. Oh, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think of the Ahsoka series. What are the highs and what are the lows for you? See you, everybody.